It's been kind of lax the last couple days, so I watched the video on dream interpretation last night, and it said God talks to you through your dreams, and the way to interpret your dreams is to ask Him for the interpretation and to pray to Him for the dreams. So I gave it a little shot last night specifically. I've I've had dreams like this, I suppose, but in the last month I haven't had any. I had five last night. Um, Five. I'm gonna try and remember them. I record. What happened is, I would wake up about every hour and a half, and I'd record a voice recording of what I had, and I just went through them, and I'm gonna try and relay them to you. So the first dream, I would dream of these disturbing things that ended up not being disturbing. So the only one I really remember, if you've seen the game Silent Hill, there's these mannequins that are configured in weird ways, and they're monsters coming after you. So in my dream, I saw like a sketch of these. They're flesh colored. It looked like a bunch of body parts, some more common, some less public, smashed together in this creature array. Maybe five different spots sticking out from it, but like, and then I encountered it, and it was just a funny thing. And that would happen repeatedly. There'd be something terrifying, and then when I encountered it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that part of the vacation. That was good, wasn't it?" So it was like each of these things that were terrifying before I encountered them ended up being the highlight of the vacation. So I think that might be something. What the devil intended for evil, God intended for good. Um, so that was the first one. The second one, and it was a bunch of things. It was like three or four different things. That's just the one I remember. The second one was shorter. I was in a canyon, like Grand Canyon in terms of color and shape, but it was actually way smaller. Like the walls are only 30 or 40 feet high, but they were big too. And Elon Musk was building a house there, and it kept sagging in the middle. And he would come along on my hands holding the phones, but he would come along on the other side, and he would prop up the part that was sagging, and he had to keep propping it up. And he said, "Yes, yes. When it started, we encountered many troubles, and this was the first of but many troubles that we encountered." But he was speaking about it retrospectively. So if that's metaphorical to Twitter, this house that's grand, and it looked like, like some billionaire house, but had things, and he had to come and support it. If that's a metaphor for Twitter, it makes sense. But he was speaking about it retrospectively, and he looked concerned, but I couldn't tell if the concern was because it hadn't ultimately worked out or because the cost of making it work out was more than he'd anticipated. The third dream, I was in a circle, and I think we were in bathing suits or something. There was skin, but it wasn't sensual and it wasn't naked. You know how it is with dreams. And there was a gal in front of me, and I was like, "Isn't that Myra from Casper College?" She was this tall gal who was really pretty, but she was kind of immature. She was one of the dancers. I always had kind of a thing for her, but she didn't like me. And I was thinking, well, that's an option I had. I could date her and maybe ask her to marry me. But I was talking about, because I've just been in quite a desert. I mean, there's ladies around, but like, I've got to find a gal that, isn't one of the modern. I'm not going to get into that here. You know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Maybe I'm crazy. Anyway, there's a few that I'd really give it a shot for, and that was one of them. And she ain't around anymore. I haven't seen that gal in 15 years. I don't even know. She's probably married, have 50 kids. Anyway, I was like, she ain't bad. And I remember catching her eye for just a second, and then that dream just disappeared. I'd actually forgotten about that one by the time dream number four came around. This was my favorite of the night. In this dream, there's a game called 1080 where you're slaloming down a hill, and there's a path that goes this way and a path that goes this way and some trees in the middle. Well, I wasn't slaloming. I was like levitating like 20 feet above the ground, and there was these. They looked like a shed that was half the width of a shed, like a normal shed, 10 feet. These ones were 5 feet wide, 10 long, and they had an empty bottom for some reason. And I was going along forward with one of them, and then there was a lady beside me with another one, and I was levitating them somehow, and we were going forward to a certain location. And the thing is, um, I think I was a leader, and she trusted me because she wasn't scared and she couldn't do this thing. She didn't freak out till we got to the location, And then it was time to go back, and so I started by just flying high into the sky, and it was so exhilarating. I just went straight up to the stratosphere to the point where things got cold and I could barely find where I was supposed to land. And I was thinking, oh, where am I gonna land? And then the lady, she was like a Mexican lady or something. She's like, oh, maybe we need to find the place now. Can't remember what she said. She wasn't like, she was just a little concerned, like, oh no. So I was like, oh yeah, 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 let's go. So I landed us, and we were good. We were good. But I remember when I was up there, I was just thinking, wow, this is great. Oh, and this isn't even a dream. This is real. And then I broke wind in real life as I had broken the wind in the dream, but not as I had. I farted and woke up. But I broke the air and I broke the anyway. Sorry about that, but that's what happened, and so I recorded that, and then I'm doing good remembering. The fifth one was the craziest of all. It was equal parts exhilarating, and it was also terrifying. Real quick before I talk about it, on the fourth dream, I might have been leading something, um, and people depended on me and trusted in me. Trusted not that I was some, but like a teacher or something, but who could fly? I don't know. The fifth dream was similar. I had some kind of responsibility. It was some sort of it was like a cruise ship on the waters, but it wasn't a cruise ship. And what I would have to do is, and I don't know how, I was on it a while before I got my duty, and I was at odds with somebody else on the ship, and it turned out we were we had to work together, and that's part of the reason we were at odds. We finally made peace, but anyway, this big huge ship, and I would have to like levitate, fly out to where this 100-foot wave was coming toward the ship, and it would crash down before it came to the ship, and I would get under it when it crashed down so I could ride the wave in, and right when it crested I would dive under and pop up inside a little room, and the wave would pick me up onto a little bunk, and I would wait there until it happened again. And I just did that back and forth all day. I don't know why. I don't know what that was about. In the Bible, water is people. Maybe the ship was a church or something. Um, but anyway, there was another guy who did something similar, except from the other angle. Like, I don't know if he went behind the ship or maybe he kicked up the wave to begin with, something like that. And me and this dude were sitting in like a Dinette cafe booth discussing, hey, we're the only ones who know how to fly and go under and ride that wave in and go out again. And we were just talking shop, and he's the only one I could talk shop to. And then we were talking, and the captain of the ship came and said something to the effect of, "Yeah, it makes sense that the wave rider and the flyer or something would be friends together or something." And he got a laugh, and he reminded me of the pastor of this church I'm going to, which is why I think maybe that's what the metaphor is. Because they say that dreams have symbols, and that's what the Jewish dream interpretator studies. Don't use a dream dictionary. Scripturally, dreams are symbolic, and the symbols will be metered to you. So anyway, the final part of that dream, there was some sort of shipping container or train, and I was inside it talking to this guy, and we were having some sort of argument. He's a little black dude I used to know from. He reminded me of a guy I knew named Jawan, but he wasn't Jawan. Looked similar, not the same guy. Anyway, we were in this trailer, and it started to rise up like this, like sideways, like a train, like stretching higher and higher. And I realized as we were having the argument, hey, what's going on? What's going on here? And then my dad apparently had levitational powers, or maybe he represented, because a lot of people psychologically identify God with their earthly father. I don't know. Who knows where my brain was at on it, but he had some levitational powers, and he threw the whole trailer with us arguing in it at the ocean, and I freaked out and got mad. But then he stopped it right at the last moment and brought it back. He's like, "What? You didn't like that? You didn't like such and such arguments?" Well, I don't mind the argument. What I mind is being thrown at the ocean in a trailer. And everybody started laughing. There were some people in some other booths started laughing. And then the last thing I remember from that dream is I was talking to somebody. I said, "You know what I'm afraid of?" And the guy said, "No." And I said, "Me neither. And that scares me." And then I was thinking about that as I woke up, and I was thinking, boy, I sure am sweaty. I wonder if that's why I'm sweaty. And I remembered the flying dream, which was exhilarating and fun but weird. So I prayed to God. I got 5 dreams for the price of one, and I think I got the interpretation for them as well. This was a data point for the dream journal.